All right, we're going to get started. I'd like to welcome everyone to a regular Monroe Town Board meeting for September 8th, 2020, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Hogan.
Here.
Councilmember Noonan.
Here.
Councilmember Van Tassel.
Here.
Councilmember Donahue. Here. Supervisor Kuzma.
Here, and would everyone please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, what?
There we go. All right, just off camera for the benefit of those joining us via Zoom, we do have the town attorney, Carla Bittman, and town clerk, Leanne McCabe, also present at the meeting. Before we get started, I just want to point out that we're able to do this meeting via Zoom as a result of the governor signing Executive Order 202.60, which extends the ability of local governments to conduct public meetings via Zoom through October 4th of 2020. First item of business is the approval of minutes. We have two sets. First one is the audit meeting for August 25th, 2020, and the second one is for the regular town board meeting, also on the same day. All members of the board were present for both of the meetings, so I guess we can take them together. Any discussion, comments on the minutes, any corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve both of those minutes together.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 25th, 2020 audit meeting minutes and the August 25th, 2020 regular town board meeting minutes. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Second item I have is set future meetings and workshops. I have further on down on the agenda solar update, but now that the town board members, and I want to thank all my colleagues for weighing in as we discussed at the previous board meeting as to their ideas with the current draft law. I think we're to the point now where we can probably go to a town board workshop where we can discuss where we are, keep the process going. So the first thing I'd like to do is, separate from that, is I have a request from my office to change the next regular scheduled town board meeting, which has the audit attached to it, from the 22nd to the 29th, because it'll be really tight for them to get all the bills, their vouchers ready to go. I don't know if that would work for board members.
Yeah, should be fine with me.
So that would be the audit meeting at 6:30, town board meeting 7 on the 29th. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to do that.
I'd like to make a motion to change the meeting date of the next month-end audit meeting and the next month-end town board meeting from September 22nd to September 29th, with the audit meeting being at 6:30 and the town board meeting to follow at 7 o'clock. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. So going back, so that leads me to, as I started to talk about a potential workshop for the draft solar law. And this would be a town board workshop, hopefully getting it pretty close to the point where we want to present to the public for their opportunity to weigh in on it. And for possible dates, I know I could do the 23rd of September if we want to do it before the audit meeting. I don't know if that's a good date for everybody or not. If you want to do it, it would be in the evening,
This is our.
The zoning board meeting.
23rd. Oh, I thought you couldn't do it. All right, I'm sorry, let me recharacterize that. I can do the 21st.
Planning board meeting that.
Yeah, but I thought we would do it an hour beforehand, 6 o'clock. And then we'd be out of here in time for the, it kind of gives us a little incentive to
Okay,
wrap things up.
I'm okay with that. I'm hoping we can get
Okay.
Monday the 21st
At 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m. I'll put it on the calendar.
And you can do that, Kim?
That I can do.
All right, so we don't need a motion for that. Yeah, so we'll just schedule that for the 21st. And you have that, Leanne? Okay, great. Thank you. Next item I have listed as highway. I just want to make the board aware. I received communication from the highway superintendent regarding chips on Thursday morning. You know, we've heard, first we had a plan on 80% of our CHIPS money, then there was talk of it going to be 100% of CHIPS money. Now talk is back to 80%. But either way, we had some requirements we had to follow for September 4th, which was Friday, so the highway superintendent needed to get this in by Friday. And that information along with canceled checks had to be provided to DOT, New York State DOT, in order to get 100% of your request. And we put all the information together that we could. Unfortunately, we don't have the required canceled checks that are part of the application process because they were approved at the audit last meeting. They haven't been returned to town hall, so I can't produce what I don't have. So I do have a call into the director of local programs bureau with DOT for CHIPS, and hopefully I'll hear back from him tomorrow. I just want to make sure we're not jeopardizing, 100% funding on that first request for reimbursement.
So the reimbursement be for the monies that we gave at the, I think it was the July meeting?
So yeah, a few board meetings ago, town board approved a resolution earmarking $100,000 of the CHIPS money for help offset the funds that we've yet to receive from the SAM grant for repair of the highway garage roof, with the balance of whatever comes in going to paving. It doesn't impact the resolution that we passed, because we're still going to take our $100,000 off the top that the resolution called for. But I'm hoping that there's no more reductions in that, and that's something that I want to find out, so we can plan for paving going forward.
I think some of the numbers Mr. Joseph was using appeared to be almost larger than he's had in a few years. I don't know if you saw that. So
Yeah, I think so. There was a rollover of 33,482 from Pave New York from last year that we're able to use for highway purposes. That shouldn't impact CHIPS, but what he has requested for reimbursement is $19,864.31 for Hilton Drive, $27,312.16 for Lincoln Avenue, and $18,547.98 for Greenway Road. So that total amount to date is $65,724.45. So we just don't want to get too far out over our skis, that's all. So I want to bring that to the board's attention.
I think when we approved like 106 $100?
The anticipated amount, I don't have in front of me, was approximately, I think, 180, 190.
192,545.
Yeah, so 100 of that's gonna be earmarked for the roof.
Okay. Right, okay.
So I guess the question is whether we're getting 80% or 100% reimbursement on that. I just want to make sure that the timeliness of our application doesn't impact the level of reimbursement that we get. Before I go down any further in the agenda, I wanted to ask the technology committee if the members would be willing to look into getting Wi-Fi at some of the like water and transfer station, because that's a roadblock, that's an impediment to us looking at doing payroll services. And if we can, we do have some money, Jeffrey's working on pulling that together, what we allocated for this year's budget. If we can get that part of the equation taken care of, I think we can then start looking at the possibility of outsourcing payroll, because we have electronic time cards. We wouldn't have to do everything manual. It's very time consuming. We're short staffed in my office as it is. And I think that would be helpful and something we should look at down the road. So,
Do you want an update now, or do you want me to do it committees?
do it on the committee, so you've already talked to them. Okay, good. So when we get to committee reports, we'll have you add to that. Next item on the agenda is, I have listed as Nolan Road boat launch. We have an email board members received mid-August from Zach Perry LaPointe from the Monroe Community Center. Very interested in putting together a day to clean up our boat launch on Nolan Road. And I know that he's been working with Council Member Noonan on that directly, and asked that we bring it to the board for discussion. I'm going to let
Sure. Zach Perry LaPointe, the Director of Marketing and Community Outreach at the Community Center, sent emails to all of us. I responded back pretty enthusiastic about the project. I've been involved something like this years ago in another town, 20-something years ago. It was a neat idea, like celebrating the town on a service day. We don't really have one of those at the point in time, so he wanted to start with a smaller, highly used property in town, and a lot of people have talked about the boat launch needing to clean up, and he approached us, all of us in that email, with that proposal. He's gone a little bit farther to suggest some dates. Right off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think it was the last Saturday.
Saturday 26th.
The 26th of September with a rain date for the following weekend. Really what they're looking for is approval from the board to go ahead and organize this event. They will gather volunteers, they will do the marketing, really would just like our blessing, essentially, to let them do a community outreach project to clean up something in this highly used town. I'm sure if we had anything else we could offer, if it was, whether allow them, bring them all the garbage that they pick up to the landfill, if they're clearing any brush to the landfill. He hasn't brought that up to me yet, but I'm thinking we could offer certain things like that for them. And again, just really looking for our approval and blessing, and hopefully, he's very enthusiastic, hopes to get 50 or so volunteers or more, was emphatic about following COVID protocols for distancing, space, cleanliness, all that stuff. So I don't, and I said, I don't think anyone on the board would have a problem. Let's bring it to the board and see if there's any other questions that might come up. And if you have any, right off the top of your head, if you have any, I can get back to him with that. But if not, I would like to approve letting them go forward with this project for the date 26th of September, the rain date of October 3rd, and they will kind of take care of every other part of it. So, and anybody, of course, from the town that's willing, that wants to pop down and lend a hand for a little bit of time is obviously more than welcome. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Anytime that you can increase community involvement, what we're trying to do here, either as a town, school district, community center, it's a great thing. And the hope is, if it's successful, to make this an annual event. For some board members, you probably recall that prior to opening a recreation park, there was always a community cleanup day where everybody went down and helped out getting the park ready. We've kind of gotten away from that in recent years. COVID didn't help this year. But I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think this is great, and we can, if it grows, if it's big, and it goes quick, because if there's a lot of hands, then it'll go quick. Their thought is that next year, maybe there's other parts of the town to look at and slowly growing it over the years. I mean, when I went to school out in central New York, all those small towns around the Finger Lakes have these celebrate service days where like the colleges and the schools get together and they just clean up, they do all this. And the town I went to was part of had, right? So it can grow, but I think this is a great way to start small and see where it goes from there. Speaking of the boat launch, though, at the same time, we're cleaning it up from garbage, because that unfortunately is, the land is pretty disrespected by the people who use it. They're turning it into a beach. There's been problems with boaters, can't get their boats out of the water because people won't get out of the way. They're bathing, or not bathing, they're swimming, they're in their tubes, they're hanging out where they put boats in. So if, I can see the boat launch getting cleaned up and then maybe move a little bit further from our end on some legislative stuff to make it safer for everybody. Because we didn't have the beach open this year, people started to swim down there. But we have a local contractor, developer who loves the boat launch, but he takes jet skis and boats over to Queensbury, and he uses theirs, and he said he would donate, I believe, time and resources to build a boat launch down for us.
Yeah.
So these are things that we really need to look into. I ran into him again. He's been telling me this for years, and every time I see him, I say, "Is that boat launch offer still on the table?" Yeah, my phone hasn't been ringing, So he knows we're busy, but I think we can do a lot with that boat launch area, starting with a project like this. So,
What are the dates again?
Saturday, September, is it 26th? I don't have a calendar.
26.
Saturday, September 26th. Don't have times yet, but Zach will get back in touch with all of us, I'm sure, and tell us exactly what. And then
What was rain day being October 3rd?
Well, the rain day being the following weekend, I believe it's October 3rd.
I think I had a note it would be around 10 to 2, but he was going to put out more information.
Yeah, he left me a very long voicemail. I had to go back and listen to it again. I can forward it to everybody. It's easy to send it.
Well, if you want to get the details up of that, and the board's supportive of it, we'll get it on the website.
Right, and I'm hoping that our other #1 media outlet also runs that, because it'd be nice to get it out there and help with this, because everybody does like that boat launch in the town. And newer families don't probably even know that we have it. So that would be kind of nice.
Okay, good. Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, so you can reach out.
Yes, yep.
All right. Item 5 is the universal playground. As everyone knows, we started guns blazing to get that completed, and unfortunately COVID-19 hit in March, and it slowed things down to a crawl. But the board is committed to trying to get this wrapped up this year before the frost enters the ground. And in an effort to make that happen, Councilmember Van Tassel, myself, as well as a representative from Parkitex, and Pete, our rec leader, had a meeting last Wednesday down at the site to come up with what is our strategy, what is our schedule, what is our budget that we have remaining to get this done. And I think board members have been provided with some information from Pete, our rec leader. And right before that meeting, actually it was the day before, had some unfortunate news. We had been sponsored, Town of Monroe had been sponsored for $125,000 from Assembly Member Werner, almost 2 years to the date for that project. Unfortunately, as is the case all across New York, the governor's director of the budget has shut down expenditure of SAM grant funding for the foreseeable future. I did reach out to the Assemblywoman's office, and we've had correspondence from the State Dormitory Authority, which oversees the grants. And we'll still be able to receive that funding when it becomes available, regardless whether the project is completed or not. In previous years, there used to be a caveat that if you started a project or ended it prior to being under contract, you wouldn't get the money. We don't have to worry about that here, but short term, we don't have the money. So we had never, when we put the budget together, we had made arrangements so that this could be funded entirely through our capital fund. So it's not going to result in any tax increase or anything like that because it is capital reserve funds. So we've got the money to do that. To wrap it up, Parkitex has graciously said that they will hold the cost for the concrete work for the spray pad as well as the ramp leading up to the playground equipment. And that's something that they have penciled us in for, I believe, mid-October to complete that work. However, in the meantime, we do require additional tree work down there, primarily for safety reasons, because some of the trees, very tall trees, are within falling distance of the equipment that we've installed in place. So we asked the rec leader to secure pricing for necessary tree work to get those trees down to ensure safety and make sure we have the appropriate buffer area around the equipment that's installed and the equipment that's about to be installed. So first, and I'll have Council Member Van Tassel give you more detailed information if you have it regarding the timing on it. But in the meantime, to start the ball rolling down there, we have to engage the services of a company to cut, remove, and clean approximately 25 trees in the area behind the Universal Playground. And we do have 3 quotes. We have a price of $8,500 from High Peaks Tree Removal Incorporated in Queensbury. We have a second quote of $22,400 per state Saratoga County contract from Richard Sears Tree Experts Incorporated and Glens Falls. And the third vendor is Tree Care by Stan Hunt, whom we have a contract with for highway needs. And based on that contract, it would be $11,400. The recommendation from the rec leader is to use High Peaks to remove the necessary trees at $8,500. The current balance for the funding allocated for this project is $81,198.37. This would come from the account HT 7197.201. So if someone would like to move that, we can have a discussion on it if you'd like.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on that?
I'm curious just about the other 2 quotes on here. The first Saratoga County contract, does that mean they didn't come out and look, they had to go by contract already in place, or is it, or per highway department quote, does that again mean they didn't come out and look, they went by what's quoted?
No, my understanding is they, along with a few others, came out and looked at it.
They did, okay.
Yeah, but they already have established pricing in place, so.
Okay.
Richard Sears fell back on the county contract and Tree Care by State Farm fell back on the existing highway contract for their pricing.
Okay, I mean,
And
that's,
say, High Peaks Hospice was aggressive to win the business.
right, no, I think that's great, I feel like either it was a Sears or Hunt, or Stan Hunt has always been the best for us in the past, but clearly not on this one, so I'm okay with going with IPs for sure. I was just curious.
And just for clarity, we did have the we did have Pete bring back High Peaks Hospice to get great clarity, mark the trees themselves, get an actual count, we didn't want there to be any confusion, you know, when you see a price that's so disparaging
Right,
from the others, but
okay,
we're quite confident there's great clarity on the scope of work.
yeah, great, thank you for all the work that went into it.
And I was just informed from the highway superintendent that the town does not have a contract with Tree Care by State at this time. So that was an extrapolation based on the cost of work in the past, I guess.
Okay, okay,
All right.
thanks, yep.
Any other discussion?
No,
Good. All right, all in favor?
yes.
Opposed, motion carries unanimous. So that was the first item. I talked a little bit about some of the work that we have to do down there. I don't know if you have additional information you want to share.
I mean, I don't know, you all have copies of the project plan that's been put in place, I'll just touch on it briefly. I don't know for sure, you know, how we got so far off track, but you touched on some of the stuff with COVID and just some changes, you know, what's going on in the economy, but you know, problems created by people can be fixed, and I think that's what we did, so thank you for going down there. There's a very tight timeline that people have committed to. There's great confidence we'll get this thing done before the end of the season. You know, the site prep has to happen first, and that's scheduled and locked in for the first days of September, starting on September 7th, and then running to the end of the time period. We're going to have a safety audit early, just to make sure we haven't missed anything. So there's going to be a gentleman that comes by and does work with architects that will do a safety audit now, so that we don't find surprises at the end. Utility works, which includes water line, electrical install, and building control shed. That stuff will all happen in parallel. There's other entities that are doing that. And Jesse's department is working with the rec department. We did feel very strong that although we could maybe continue to find a little better price on pouring the pad, if we find somebody available. The uniqueness of pouring that pad with all the plumbing and the electrical, it's just our recommendation is to stay with the people that do it every day. And so the firm that represents architects is willing to do it. And I just don't think that's an area we want to fool with. So they're going to do it. They're committed to it. They're locked in for the week of October 19th through the 31st. So they're scheduled. They were penciled in. They're now penned in. And we'll get the trees out of there in advance of that. And then playground resurfacing, final safety audit, work on the road and parking areas, and then site reclamation. That will be a joint effort between highway, rec staff, and BOCES. So a combination of a bunch of people coming together, committing to it, and thank everybody for their help.
Great, thank you.
I think most is planning that, I don't know if we have to have that discussion with them, but
So I have spoken with both, actually, but did we have a roll call?
No.
Any more discussion?
On the,
So we're all done with that? Okay, all right. So yeah, getting back to BOCES. So I have spoken with BOCES as recently as last week. While classes will be starting up, the earliest that they could have students there would be early to mid-October. Obviously, we would have loved to have BOCES continue to do the work for us because the price was right. However, if we're going to be able to achieve the timeline we want to have, the timing didn't work out. So And we're hopeful that, you know, maybe they can help with some of the finish grading down there. If not, we'll have to look to the town department to help us out with that.
Great.
Anything else on Universal Playground?
No,
The other thing I would add is, so we've expended approximately 70% of what we budgeted for this project, so we've got another 30% to go. I think we're gonna make it. It's gonna be tight, especially with the unforeseen issues with not being able to take advantage of BOCES and some other things there. But I think we'll get there, and we'll be able to, more importantly, have it completed this year.
I mean, you saw from the paperwork that was submitted that we actually didn't have to change the scope of work a lot. There was the reduction for now of one sidewalk and a little bit of concrete area, but there's still plenty of egress and access and plenty of places for people to get in without problem.
Yeah, we may, you know, I think it's becoming apparent that we won't get any paving done down there this year, but that's something that, you know, we can roll over into next year. You can still use the playground without paving, and there's only the sidewalks. Okay. All right, next item is item 6, Recreation Department. I do have a request from Councilmember Hogan that we have a discussion on the proposed contract with Link Soccer Academy LLC for the town's, regarding the town's soccer program. The timing is kind of short, which is why it's being discussed this evening, because they would need to have an answer prior to our next board meeting.
Right.
So do you want to talk briefly about that? Or do you want me to?
I'm gonna say go right ahead. I just want to know, did you have an opportunity to look at it?
I did look at it, and I just have, from a legal perspective, it's fine as long as they're provided by the COVID regulations. I don't know how they're doing spectators. None of that's in the contract.
No.
So I don't know if they provided you with their guidelines that they submit to the state or what all that is, but because a lot of the places have, you know, 2 people per person, but none of that's in the contract. So I don't know if that's gonna be put in the contract or if that's gonna present it. Like with the lacrosse contract, I don't know where that falls into this.
Did we?
I know it's not in the contract, but we signed our daughter up for it, so we're aware, so it was made clear to us that it's only 2 spectators, and you are requested to stay in your vehicle. If you must get out, you have to make sure you are 6 feet away from anybody, and you must stay, you know, 2 people have to stay together, or if you're by yourself, you're not with anybody, but everybody's got to socially distance. It's pretty much the same as every other rec program that we have down there right now.
Well, that's my question.
Where does it say?
Where is that document? The town needs to have that on file.
Okay.
So that the town is prepared. And there's also COVID waivers that are attached. And Peter knows, and Peter and I worked on the COVID waiver earlier.
Yes.
So I presume that that's being forwarded to them as well.
I'm presuming that as well.
And you're signing up, they're having sign-ups before there's a contract?
Sign-ups open last weekend.
Before there's a contract.
Yeah.
So there is proposed new language in the contract, which is highlighted in yellow over the contract that I signed last August. And some of the new verbiage is in relation to what the academy shall pay to the town for the town share. And the language that is proposed is $10 for the first registered child and $5 for each additional sibling, which is fine. And I think that's important that families that have more than one child derive a benefit. But nowhere in the contract does it say what the cost will be that is charged to the participants. And so the question I have is, especially with the pandemic that we're dealing with and some folks no longer employed or not working the same hours or on furloughs. Is the price that's being charged to the families the same as last year? Has it increased? Because this is certainly not the time to be increasing the cost.
So I reached out to Peter and I did get that. I also that on the back of the last sheet of last year's contract was this one, which has that information in there about what they charge for family.
So it's the same as last
Yes,
year?
yes.
So if we're gonna have that language, and I think the language of the cost of the program probably should be included somewhere in there.
Normally you don't have the cost of the program
I know.
in the contract, so
Yeah.
I'm surprised they put that in here. But if you're gonna have something in here saying they're gonna pay to the town, if you wanna put in that it's gonna pay, they're charging the students X number of dollars, I have no problem with that.
Or maybe it should be a percentage, so they don't ever have to change the number.
However they wanna do it.
So, no, I brought it up for discussion, so.
Yeah, I was comfortable with what was in there as far, after I learned that it was a matter of, the organizer of this, about PJ Bostic, last year, I think they paid, charged $10 per player. Well, no, they charged $40, the fee was $40 per student or player, 35 if it was a second sibling, and it reduced $5 each time there was another sibling. So it went from 40 to 35 to 30 to 25, and then it goes on to more pay like 15. A large family, they're getting a reduced rate. Within the contract, it was $10 for first child, $5 less for the next one, and it would remain at that $5 for the others in the group. If it was a large family, I'd be surprised if there was that many large families around anymore, but,
I think the concern is that it talks from the contract about what they're gonna pay the town, which is fine. And I think Todd's concern is, well, what are they charging the families?
Okay.
Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we can take this out completely, or we can leave this in and just attach, like you have back there, just say, per attached, whatever their last paycheck from last year.
right, well, so this is their advertisement, which is for last year. Yeah, absolutely. So that was their advertisement for last year, and I'm told that it's going to be the same this year.
All right, so we'll do it for the approved 2020 handout supplier.
I haven't seen the flyer for 2020.
Oh, okay. Have you seen?
Kyle had.
It's all online. There actually wasn't anything in paper, so I was just looking at it here. And I don't even know how up to date. I know it's for this year, but it's pretty basic and straightforward. It's just register. If I was to say click it, it just has a name. You put your name, address, and pay. There's not a lot of info on the site. I know in the past they were charging late fees and everything else. And again, I don't think we ever saw any of those late fees, which I always feel like late fees should be scratched. Because the late fees would go to the organization, and it's like $5, $10 at a certain date.
So this is billed as a Town of Monroe program. There should not be any late fees on it.
Right. And I don't know, that's not in the contract anywhere about late fees, so I'll look again, share detail on the registration site, but couldn't find like the printout. I think it's,
There's nothing on there, I have the 2019 on the website, I don't see the 2020 at all.
right. I think I just sent you a link to what they're, unfortunately, it's going on through Facebook type of a deal here. So if you hit that link, Let me find it, and where we go ahead and say, like the fall 2020 registration is open, and then that's 2019, where that is the 2021 I just sent you. So,
I was looking it up. In the prior year's contract, we didn't have the reference to the price they were charging, it was just the attachment. I don't know if we have to reference the price to charge the contract, we can have the attachment. I think just also to keep in perspective, and certainly one person, I'll share mine, you know, we're not in a position to run our own program, so we're outsourcing this. And in the past, when I was involved, this got very good reviews and he did a good job. We didn't have complaints as we might have in the past. I think he puts on a good program. I'd be comfortable. We need to get the contract done sooner than later if he's already open for registration, but
right.
I'd be comfortable referencing a pricing page, or can we have, if we get this on agreement on approval, can we have some contingencies that he includes that?
What actually, he can just print out from what he's got here, COVID. He's got COVID return to play guidelines, is what you're talking about, Kyle.
Yeah.
So I would like that to be a part of the contract,
As attachments.
yes.
So if we get to a motion, we can have the agreement, have some contingencies if those are included.
As long as the town's comfortable with it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's everything that we probably attached to every other contract required, and we can attach it. I'm comfortable with that.
So work for you.
Yeah, I mean, there was another question that Councilman Hogan brought up earlier. I'll ask it since we're just moving on here, but you know, it looks like the insurance was on our contract went up from 1 million to 3 million. Is that a change that we wanted?
I didn't put that in, but I noticed that as well. It bumped quite a bit. I don't know if that, why that.
Any insight into why that might? Is there anything?
I don't know if that's what they're doing. COVID.
Is that what we did in the last contract?
So we were limited.
No, we were $1 million. Now it's
Last year's contract was $1 million, but I was told we were going to $3 million, but this came from a rec leader because he was advised of that, but I don't know.
maybe by maybe by the insurance company. not by-
I'm perfectly fine with it if the vendor in this case is fine with it. I mean, that's up to him. I assume he's read it and he knows what's being presented to the board tonight. I know Councilman Hogan are aware of him having a problem with it, so I would move
No, the
forward.
more insurance, the better. Sounds
I just wasn't sure if there was a reason.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
Okay, so I just got a text from Peter, he's told by your confidential secretary that the rate needed to go to 3 million. I'm assuming that was a directive through MECR, but I'd have to check with her.
The rate needed to go to that, or the rate of what?
Insurance coverage.
Oh,
They provide insurance coverage and will harm us to town.
if that's what she said, I'm sure she spoke with our insurance carrier.
I'm assuming.
All right, so,
I'm good. Comfortable.
Yes, I'm good with it.
And for, I think again, it's one of those situations where we don't want to hold this up. So we can hold the kids back from getting out there, do what they gotta do. I guess it was just, brought to my attention that someone's watching from home here, that $40 we paid every year, we get a shirt out of it for the kids. Because of time constraints, there's no shirts this year. So in terms of the cost, I mean, we can't do it this late. I wish I knew that ahead of time to be able to say, hey, listen, I know you're usually charged, you pay for the shirts. You still pay the town $10 per kid. Should pay the town $10 per kid plus the cost of the shirt, but
So-
I don't think we can really do that with our time constraint, because the kids aren't getting shirts this year.
Well, the amount that they're charging is separate apart from the amount they're paying the town. They're gonna pay the town 10 and 5 no matter what.
Right,
So that's something that
well, at this
Karen, I
point,
guess, should speak to EJ.
because we're gonna hear like, hey, I paid $40 this year, like last year, I got a shirt last year. How come I got a shirt this year? I still paid $40. I mean, that's gonna come our way, so we, you know,
And the reason we weren't going to first was timing.
time constraints, because we approved it last meeting, And we're now approving the contract tonight. And I guess we never did the shirts. The
Yeah,
shirts
it's
came
all
through
on PJ's.
PJ.
Yeah. so-
I mean, in my mind, I feel like we order the shirts up and give them to them in the third week. If it's the same cost that everyone's paying, I think we should ask him to
So
order those shirts.
I think part of the agreement, I don't care if you want a contract, you want a resolution that they shall receive the same benefits that their participation fee got them last year. If that's a shirt after the fact, that's okay. But absent a willingness to change the costs of the program, they should at least get a shirt. I'm with you on that.
I mean, for some kids, it's the biggest thing all year. They love Monroe Red Soccer, and they love that shirt. They wear that shirt around like they're Aaron Judge from the New York Yankees. It's just important, you know? So I think if we can figure out a way to chat with PJ, again, even if it comes in the third week, I think it's important.
Yeah, no,
Just to-
I completely agree.
I would do that as a resolution, not part of the contract.
You got it. So where are we? So verbiage wise, we're gonna take out reference to the town share and,
No, I think we leave that in. I think the verbiage is a requirement to have the pricing schedule attached as well as his COVID plan and COVID waivers.
as long as it's the same as last year.
And the third or fourth one would be, you know, the whatever the people get for their program would be the same as last year, the benefits.
Okay, both for the town and the participants.
Well, it's not the same for the town, as you can see, because last year we got 10 per kid, this year it's 10 and it drops to 5, so.
So why? Oh, because the cost is being increased for the participants?
No.
You mean multiple families, it drops to.
The payment to the town, which is the way that we're helping cover our costs in the park. So PJ's company runs the program on behalf of the town. In the past, he paid us $10 per child, at least that's what the 2019 contract says. The 2020 contract says that it's $10 for the first child and $5 for every additional child. So I believe we're being paid less.
But I thought he's collecting less because he's reduced his fee to multiple families with multiple children. It's not that.
That was the 2019.
Is he not reducing his fee
It
to
was the same as last year, which he does a reduction. It was what?
40, 35.
I didn't talk to him directly. I'm assuming that he's.
see, this is what happens when this stuff comes last minute, and it does not make me happy because it wastes time, wastes. And these answers have to be provided to the board before they can make good policy. And we don't have, so we're gonna have to.
So let's do this. Why don't we table it and Mr. Hogan, Councilman Hogan and I will get a hold of the parties, sort it out, and then we do this through.
Well, you have to give them authority to sign it.
How about authority to sign it after final legal review?
That's fine, that's usually how you do it,
Okay.
as long as you're not changing, but legal review is different than changing
Yeah.
the terms.
I like you, don't want to be sitting here tonight having these discussions without the answers. I thought it was worked out, but it's clearly not. I think that there's probably some validity to the fact that it's a little bit more expensive for him to run the program because he has to do a lot of extra work to deal with the COVID stuff too. So let us, if you're okay with that, Councilman Hogan.
Most of it we're gonna have to be, but I'm gonna, going back, we just gave approval at our last board meeting for them to actually hold this program. It wasn't like they've been able to plan for this throughout the summer because of the COVID restrictions. They just got the word to go ahead.
Right.
And this is part of the last minute type of thing. I understand.
No, I'm not faulting the organization, I'm just faulting those that bring this information to us. We should have all those answers.
So I guess some of that's my fault. I
No.
just got this Friday afternoon and I was,
We have full-time staff, we have full-time staff.
No, I understand that. I do understand that.
All right, so what do we want to answer?
I present a motion authorizing the supervisor to sign the agreement with Lynx Soccer, Adirondack Soccer Academy for the 2020 soccer season with some contingencies. Contingent that this agreement will include copy of his COVID plan, the requirement to have COVID waivers included. Attached as an attachment will be a copy of his fee schedule, and we will get additional answers to a couple open questions. If you're then comfortable, we can decide. So those questions are going to be if there's reduction in the costs, and if he's willing to include t-shirts as he did last year.
Removal of late fees, there's a $10 late fee charge on here as well.
Yeah, I won't support it.
In the 2020 agreement?
Yeah, and actually the registration info is pretty, I think it's a typo, August 29th.
What are you looking at now?
So if you go to his
Okay,
website,
so you're not, okay, we need to
Let's
break
just
down.
see what
The contract with the town
yeah,
says that the town is gonna get $10 and $5 for each additional
Right.
student on multiple families.
okay,
Doesn't say anything about what he's charging anybody else or late fees or any of that
Sure.
stuff. That's his agreement with you folks. So like you guys have a separate agreement.
yeah, so when can I talk about the fact that I want late fees removed?
You talk about now,
Okay.
I mean, that's fine, I can put that in the contract, but maybe we need to have that contract that the participants sign as an attachment to this contract.
Okay. Okay. So we would like, or that should be worded, that we want that information, 'cause actually it looks, it's incorrect anyways, and I'm looking at the dates that are on here, so I'm trying to not turn this into the conversation. But however, we can get that in there, that's what we need to do it. Because none of it's in print like this, it's all just web-based stuff.
When is the first meeting?
So they have it scheduled to start on September 19th, which is in, 11 days. I mean, I also think TJ is probably willing to work with us on all of this. He probably didn't think we would have this much discussion on it, but I'm glad we are, and I'm sure he's willing to work with us. So whatever that is, these contingencies that we need to get cleared up, so we can start on time and all be on this agreement. Do we have enough time to do that? Do we have enough time to do that?
Talk to them tomorrow. So the last two contingencies that would be that the participants would receive the same benefits as they did in the prior year, and we have a removal of late fees.
Right. And I think that's important. I mean, we're trying to get kids out there, and I think that's the most important part, but we can't begin leaving these holes in some of these contracts that we're just not aware of, that we weren't maybe aware of originally, so.
You okay with that, council?
As okay as it can be.
I've got a question. Now, the document we have before us tonight, the contract with us with this guy, as to what he's going to pay us, what the terms of that contract is. I just sit here thinking about whatever he does with his players' families and buying t-shirts and everything else, seems to me like it's a separate entity. It's a separate thing altogether. Why are we getting involved in what he charges these people? Our concern should be what we're going to get to cover our costs for the use of fields or whatever cost the town has. We want to make sure they're insured for things like that to cover us. I don't know why we're talking, getting into discussions about whether the kid's going to get a t-shirt through the vendor, or whether the vendor's going to charge a late fee, or the vendor is going to, what the vendor's going to charge. That's, I think, would be the vendor's responsibility, not ours. That's just.
Okay,
So the issue here is this is billed as a town enroll program.
Okay, that changes the.
Yeah, we're responsible. Yeah, it's not somebody else's program. It's the town enroll program.
Being run by them.
Exactly.
Okay, that kind of clears it up for me then, okay.
Sorry, that wasn't clear.
I'm so concerned about the other end.
Yeah. So,
Because we always have rolling commissions, I feel like, for our programs.
Okay, all right.
So we got a motion. The council's okay with.
It's okay if you can be. I second.
um, anybody want the motion read back?
Yes, we did read this back.
No.
Yeah,
All right.
can I make sure I know what the
Yes,
motion
yes,
is?
yes.
So what I have is a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Adirondack Lanes Soccer Academy LLC for the soccer academy to run the town's rec soccer program for the fall. With the following contingencies and or additions to the contract. That the vendor signs the COVID waiver that the town presents, that the vendor attaches his contract to the town's contract, and in his contract, late fees are removed, all dates are verified and up to date for this season, and that the individual participants receive the same benefits, and the town receives the same benefits from the program last year as they are getting the program this year.
Stuck on that last one, I'm sorry. The participants get the same benefits, but then you said the town gets the same benefits?
That's, someone said that all the time.
I'm just saying that the agreement this year doesn't have it that way. We can modify that, if that's a request. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
When you're talking, well, when you're talking about, someone said state town benefits, so I don't know what that means.
Well, to me, that means the monetary value that he's gonna pay us.
And then it's different in this contract.
Yes.
So let's just say that the participants receive the same benefits.
That would be fine.
Is everybody good on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that better, Leanne?
And I would say for next fall, either we, you know, if we're still not in the business of running soccer programs, PJ still runs it, but we have more time in this contract ahead of time. We gotta have all these kinks waived. And usually this comes out in July. This is something we usually do in July, because I registered my daughter for this since she's 5 or 4, she's now 8, so this is the 5th year of doing it or so, and it's July when we normally hit the registration, so.
And I signed the contract August 1st last year.
Well, obviously, that was the problem this year because the governor didn't say they could do it.
Well, right, no, I know that, and I'm just, even if we had one,
No, it's complicated.
had one in the pipeline going forward, business differently, I think.
All right, so we've got a motion, we've got a second. Are we, any other discussion?
No.
If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
I will email you.
Okay, perfect. But,
Talk.
I don't want him calling PJ without us, so let's get the board members on the same call, so we only have one.
No, but email Peter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll let Chesapeake, so Chesapeake.
He's a motion.
Item 7 I have on the agenda, I talked about it a little bit already, is the solar update. As we discussed at the, I think it was the last board meeting, I asked board members to provide comments to the current draft language. Everyone did, so thank you for that. I do know that some board members have additional comments, and obviously there'll be ample opportunity for that to be provided for discussion. And earlier in the meeting, we set a workshop for a town board so that hopefully we can get this to the stage where we're going to present it to the public for comment. And I think that'll get us pretty close to that point. Did council want to update us any further at this time?
No, I just want to thank the board. You have been very good at giving me back all your responses. I sent you an email about 5:30 today, having compiled the latest round that I finally got today. And there are still, like we talked about last time, there are still some issues where I can't put the change in because they're diametrically opposed. So I will have a chart for you in the next few days saying this is what the differences are. For the workshop, are we, for the public, will they have a copy of this?
Well, still under attorney-client privilege.
Right now, yes.
Yeah, so, no, because this will be the point where the board hopefully coalesces with a majority position on what we want to do with solar, and then we will invite the public to weigh in on.
Okay. Okay, I am good to go with all my information. I'll get everything to you so as soon as I
Okay?
can. And everybody needs to get a laptop.
That would be me.
Tom can buy it.
Yeah, we'll take it out of council, yeah, we'll take it out of council member pay, that's okay. We can make that work. Anything else under solar update? Okay, so moving along, I have number 8 listed as an appointment. It actually should be an appointment, not appointments. Of course, I wasn't sure if there would have to be more. And I had good fortune to finally have an opportunity to interview an individual who has expressed interest in serving as an alternate on our planning board. I think I interviewed him last week. It's Adam Siebel from Hudson Drive in South Glens Falls. I believe I provided board members with a copy of his letter of interest, as well as his curricula vitae. He currently works with Stewart Shops as Director of Marketing, has a master's in accounting from the University of Albany, a bachelor's in business administration from Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts, and an associate's of science degree from SUNY Adirondack. He has certification in leadership fundamentals from LEAD New York, which is an excellent program. He has a certificate in fluid milk processing for quality and safety from Cornell Dairy Food Certificate Program. He's a certified management accountant from the Institute of Management Accountants. He also is a volunteer in our community, volunteering with South Glens Falls Youth Baseball. He's currently the secretary. He's been involved there since 2015 to the present. He's also previously volunteered with the South Glens Falls Pop Warner Board of Directors, as well as serving as a treasurer for the Compline Center in Glens Falls, New York. And lastly, but not least, he served as vice president for the Stewart's Federal Credit Union. Spoke with him at length, probably for about a half an hour. Very much wants to be involved with the decisions in relation to planning here in the town of Monroe. And obviously we don't have any vacancies for a full term for voting member of the planning board. So I thought that I would bring this to the board for consideration for possibly an appointment as an alternate planning board member, since we do not have any alternates at this time. And as I've indicated in the past, things are probably going to start ramping up here within the next year. And if we have somebody ready to step in from the alternate position, I think it benefits the town. So I don't know if the board wants to interview them individually, or move forward with the appointment. I think it's a great addition. We've had advertisements on our website for a very long time, and people aren't knocking down the doors to serve. So now we have somebody new that's willing to assist the town. So I don't know what the board's pleasure is on it. Any thoughts?
I don't know, were you gonna speak?
No, go ahead.
I haven't spoken with Mr. Siebel yet. I'd be willing to, but at the same time, I read up the package that came our way with his background, and I think he's got a perfectly nice, diverse background, strong education, numbers based here. Being an accountant, these are all important parts of what I think rounds out a good, strong zoning or planning board in this case. I would support making that appointment this evening. If that's where you want to go with it.
Any other thoughts?
I like Councilman Newman read his resume. I have not interviewed, but the first background, the education, his experience seems like it would fit quite well.
Yeah, and I just want to share, I should have done this up front, his letter of interest for the record. Says, dear Mr. Kuzniers, I'm writing to express my interest in the position of alternate member of the planning board. I'm a recent graduate of LEAD New York. LEAD New York is a leadership development program for adult professionals in the food, agriculture, and natural resource industries of the Northeast. A main goal for the LEAD New York program is to develop participants to make a positive difference in meeting public needs in their community. I have extensive experience in leadership at Stewart's in a variety of roles, from accounting to manufacturing operations. I'm involved in the community, volunteering for local youth sports leagues and previously for the Conkling Center with the mission for creating opportunities for older adults. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Monroe, and I'm currently raising my own family here with 2 young children. I seek to become involved in the shaping of our community's future. I believe my experience and willingness to learn would make me a good fit for this position. Sincerely, Adam H. Siebel. So,
I think it's a great letter, and when he had said, lifelong resident, and he's chosen to stay here, raise his family, I think that's huge. Similar, to the way I felt about being involved in local government, move back here to be part of the change, make positive changes, so I would absolutely support this appointment this evening. I'm good.
I'm not familiar with him. I think I know his father. If the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I think that he'd be a good fit.
We will move forward.
so the only question for discussion before a resolution is offered is we can set the term. We haven't done it in the past, but cool.
I checked, and the town code does say that the term for an alternate is set by resolution.
Right,
So I don't know if the board has ever set such a resolution.
Well, I think it's important that we do, what is it for regular planning board members? 5 years?
7 years.
7 years?
Yes.
Want to do 4 years?
I mean, we can do a shorter.
Or shorter,
And
whatever.
if he's interested in staying on, we can just reappoint, or if a seat hasn't opened up at that point, then I want to say, but
Do you have to do a term?
You don't have to do a term, the law doesn't require you to do a term. You might want to, appoint him now, and then at the organizational meeting, have a resolution setting terms for all alternates.
So,
I think that's a better idea.
okay, that's fine. So would someone like to offer the appointment of Adam Siebel to the position of alternate planning board member?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Adam Siebel as an alternate planning board member.
Second. Any discussion, further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now somebody can miss a meeting and they get somebody to come in behind them. All right, supervisor items, just have a few. I want to provide a brief update on COVID. Today, the governor announced that he has added 4 new states that fall under the metrics for the COVID-19 travel advisory. They include states of Delaware, Maryland, Ohio, and West Virginia. The metrics that he's using for that is for any person who's arriving to New York with a positive from an area with a positive test rate higher than 10 per 100,000 residents over a 7-day rolling average, or an area with a 10% or higher positivity rate over a 7-day rolling average. So while doing that, he also announced that 2 territories, Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands, were removed. So the list for states that you have to quarantine if you come from is currently 35. He also announced this afternoon at the press conference that he will be establishing a COVID report card database that will be published detailing test results for each public school in the state of New York and for students and staff members. And the database can be found at https://schoolcovidreportcard.health.newyork.gov. And then here in Saratoga County, I have those numbers. As of 12/41 today, there have been 930 confirmed cases of COVID-19. The deaths remain steady at 17. Number of recovered cases is 859. Currently, the number of active cases is 54, and of those, there are 3 hospitalized, and the total number of individuals tested to date is 77,312. Also, I have communication from the Department of State dated September 1, 2020 in relation to the Town of Monroe Local Law 3, which was a change to our zoning code for multifamily zoning. And they report that it was filed on August 28, 2020. So that means the effective date is in fact August 28, 2020. And then the last item I have for supervisor items is, I think I shared this with board members. If not, I have a copy. If you recall, we had requested a reduction in the speed limit on Old Saratoga Road in the area in proximity to Monroe State Park. And at the time of that conversation, General Park Manager, in my conversations with him, had expressed a willingness to write a letter of support. I do have that letter of support in hand, and it has been provided to DOT as with our supporting request for the speed limit reduction. It says, "Dear Mr. Kuzniers, as Saratoga Capital Region's General Park Manager, I have been responsible for Monroe Lake State Park in the park manager's absence since mid-July of this year. On multiple occasions during this time period and others, I have observed vehicles driving at high rates of speed along Old Saratoga Road in the vicinity of the Monroe Lake State Park entrance. Speed of traffic along the stretch of Old Saratoga Road is of serious concern due to the road topography and the slow nature of towed vehicles exiting the park onto the town road. Current speed limit along Old Saratoga Road, approximate to Monroe Lake State Park, is 45 miles per hour. Reducing to 30 miles per hour along the bend near the intersection with Mountain Road. Park's entrance to the road is situated in a significant dip, creating an obstructed sightline approaching the park's entrance from both the east and west approaches. Daily during the camping season, with both trucks towing camper trailers and recreation vehicles exit the park onto Old Saratoga Road in a slow fashion. Potential exists for serious injury and damage to personal property based on the limited sight lines and the slow nature of campers and RVs turning onto Old Saratoga Road. To assist with awareness, the park had installed signage indicating slow congested area. Be prepared to stop. However, this has done little to remedy the issue. Park is in support of any effort to reduce the current 45 miles per hour speed limit to 30 miles per hour along the stretch of road. I believe this modification will serve to save lives and promote safety of both users of the town's roadway as well as patrons of the state park. Sincerely, Brian Stresvich, General Park Manager with Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. So just want to thank him for doing that. He didn't have to do it. Hopefully it helps us in our success for getting the speed limit reduced in that area. Just an update, we continue to secure easements for the sewer project. The numbers continue to grow, and so we're hopeful that we're on track to get these easements in hand in a timely fashion so that we can move on to the next stage in that project. I want to thank, I can't remember if I thanked the sheriff or mentioned it at the last board meeting for providing the town with a radar speed limit sign, which we installed for at least a week on Reservoir Road. I called down to him and he had it there. He would have had it there the next day, except the battery was dead, so he had to charge it. But he did have it there 2 days later, so I want to thank him for helping us with that. As I've mentioned in the past, I'm a member of the Saratoga County Water Authority Board, and while there was a recommendation for an increase in rates for next year of 0.5%, ultimately the board voted unanimously to keep rates flat, which is good news for town of Rowe, because we buy water from Saratoga County. And that's all I have for supervisor items. Committee reports.
One of the things you just mentioned, that is the radar machine, the sheriff's department. Is that something we could get, I'm not gonna say regular basis, from time to time to put on problem roads just to remind people? Because I know I've got some complaints about Peter Dam Road, Hoover Road, Reservoir Road. Always get complaints on those street roads. And I'm just thinking, if that's something we could get the sheriff's department, bring up from time to time and throw it out there, and we keep constantly reminding these people, because people go flying through those neighborhoods, and it's dangerous. I don't know if that's something we can set up.
Yeah, so, when people, it's funny who, people see it in one area, all of a sudden they want it in their neighborhoods. I did receive calls from residents along the Feeder Dam area as well as Tanglewood. Yes, I mean, we can get it, but it's subject to first come, first serve. And those 23 supervisors in the county, and kind of pretty large. So it might be a while before I can get it back, but I can make that.
Looking to it every now and then, just to try to slow these people down a little bit. The other thing I have is the Interactive Glens Falls Transportation Council. They did a great job in that traffic study they did down on Old West Road. Matter of fact, it's about 20 pages long. And I printed off a copy before last meeting. I went over pretty well. Like I say, it's pretty detailed. I was going to say we put it on tonight's agenda, but I wasn't sure if everybody had a chance to, I know Pat emailed it to all of us, had a chance to really look at it. And I was surprised at some of the numbers, especially the numbers of heavy trucks go down that road per day through that residential neighborhood. It's an agricultural neighborhood. There's concerns down there with the people living in that area, that the traffic keeps getting heavier, vehicles keep getting heavier. So I don't know if we might want to do something to try to alleviate some of that down there. But I'd like to suggest tonight is that maybe put it on the agenda for next meeting. We'll give everybody, all of us, a chance to go over, look at the data, and maybe discuss the next meeting as to what direction we might go. I like that.
Yeah, sure. I'll take feedback from board members. As I think I gave a thumbnail sketch of it at the last meeting. The numbers were within the range of what they see for towns, roads of similar use. And I think I highlighted the accidents that did take place, particularly on the hairpin turn. Majority were a result of DWI.
Right. Well, the thing is, too, I did read that. I read the part about the accident reports and that they were all documented stuff. You're right, there was DWIs involved there. But the safety issue isn't as much a concern to the people there, and myself included, is that as it is a quality of life issue. I don't think any of us sitting here tonight would like, 74 garbage trucks from past your house over here. It's a residential neighborhood. So I think that's the quality of life issue, I think, is more than more people concerned about the trash flying on their lawns. There's all kinds of, like I say, quality of life issues that I think we might be able to address. I'd like to maybe get it on next month's agenda.
So what I would like to do is, or suggest, is that board members take a look at the report. If you believe the town needs to take additional action, we can discuss it. How's that?
Sure, I have a question. Is there like where can I go to find data that would suggest like how much traffic? I mean, I know their report, so, you know, the determination was that it fell within the limits of, I guess, normal. But so there's a trash, it's a lot of trash, right? Where do we, how would we base, what's the normal amount of trash?
So,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it may seem like a lot, I'm just wondering what is really considered a lot, where do you get this data?
so if you look at the report, you know, that everything is footnoted,
Right.
reference, because they're not pulling these numbers out of thin air.
No, right.
It's based on averages, probably statewide, maybe even greater outside the state, I don't know, without looking at the report. I mean, the report was.
Yeah, no, I had it right there, started reading through, and I started trying to put together some of the codes to figure out what the heck, you know, each thing was, right? Yeah,
They
like
have
that.
an attachment here, which is included in the report.
Yes.
And you read it, and classifications of the trucks, they can, the equipment they have, classify the size of the truck, the weight of the truck, they're going up and down these roads. And you look at some of these things, and the heavy trucks are like buses, tractor trailers, you know, 8-axle vehicles, these are going down the road. You know, it's all explained, it's all in
And I will,
the.
give it more time before the next meeting to be part of this conversation, for sure.
Any other committee?
Yes. Transfer station.
Are we talking about?
No,
Dumpster list?
listen, no, I'm talking about cameras. And I just want to bring it up and talk to Aaron about what we might need, and it goes along with having Wi-Fi down there. Once we get that figured out, then maybe we can move forward with cameras.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, okay. Rec, basketball nets, can we get them on? Can we get the basketball net back on?
I don't know where we are with that.
I don't know if basketball's allowed yet.
Basketball formally is not allowed.
Right.
As far as like league play, things like
Right.
that. But for like somebody to go down there and throw a basket, I thought it was based upon the numbers.
I can check, I haven't actually looked at the basketball
Yeah,
part,
okay.
but I'll,
Marine Street Playground, when I saw them playing basketball.
Yeah, we worked this over.
Well, a lot of places never took them down, and they're also not enforcing
Well, we
people playing in close contact.
We turned them down because people were violating the restrictions at the time. And we weren't getting any work done at the rec because there was policing groups of people using. So that's why they got turned down. I mean, if we're within the COVID guidelines to put them back up, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but as long as it's not going to cause additional problems.
Understood.
So, yeah, can have, rec staff look into it.
Great,
Thanks.
Anything else?
Couple of things real quick. So on the personnel committee, Councilman Noonan and I will, I'll get together and spend some time. You asked us last meeting to follow up on the applicants that came in for the first position. I reviewed the ones I saw. The clerk's office is gonna give me the rest of them. I'll get all of them.
So along, you're talking about the clerk position? Yeah, so that's a civil service position, which requires us to have in hand an active current list, which we do. My office has sent out an invitation of letters to seek their interest, whether they want to interview us with us, which we're required to do. I think the return date is somewhere around September 22nd. And so obviously we're required to interview from that list if we have interest. However, if we don't have any interest, we can interview without going to this. If we do have interest, obviously you have to interview those individuals. So I can keep you posted on that, but thanks for that.
You asked for an update on the technical, from the technical committee, so I can give you a quick update. There's a couple of things that are happening. The Jeffrey and the IT company had a meeting with, on the topic of reviewing all of the telecom spend, which would be inclusive of ISP or internet service spend from all of the different vendors. So, you know, the town has bills that come from Spectrum and Verizon and Magnified. So there's an opportunity, there appears to be an opportunity, Spectrum's working on this, to give us some final pricing for some consolidation to one carrier and have reduced costs, but at the same time, upgrade the circuits without additional cost because better pricing is available. So there might be an opportunity to have increased internet speeds for the same or less money. And additionally, they're determining whether or not they can service water. Water currently sits over at Knoll. That said, I'd like to have a conversation with the water supervisor and just get a better understanding of why they're over at Knoll. Because there is an opportunity for the town if we were to get more people back over near the highway complex. So one internet connection, good internet connection at highway, we can shoot a radio, a wireless shot down the transfer and give the transfer station the internet, as well as an easy shot over to the other highway building where water sometimes seems to be. So we could get internet for all departments, possibly without a lot of expense, and then we can roll right into exploring time clocks, cameras, as well as we can make some marketing with the phone system.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Today, the phone system, if you call here and you want highway, you have to hang up and call another number. If you want water, you have to hang up and call a different number. Phone systems capable, you have the right kind of lines without additional cost to make them all part of the phone system. So that's where we're at, and we're moving through it. So Jeffrey's working with the IT company.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Any other updates? Committee reports? I don't have a need for executive session. Anybody have anything else for this evening?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everyone.